And hello, everybody. Welcome back to part two of week one. Now we're going to talk about managing emotional intelligence. And hey, here's just a clue. Uh, there will be some multiple choice exams like the final, and all of the questions are going to come from these lectures. So there's a clue on why you want to tune in every week and maybe jot some notes down if you're so inclined. I would have to, right? That's me though. Okay, managing emotional intelligence. Sometimes emotional intelligence is also known by other terms. I'll just write a few on the board here. Sometimes we know it as EQ or emotional quotient. Sometimes it's EI nowadays or emotional intelligence. Either way, these are soft skills that have to be developed to be a great project manager. Soft skills that have to be developed. It's like a muscle, right? And you have to work out the muscles in order to manage your own feelings so that you can better manage the team and drive the team to success. Remember, not that you won't get upset, not that you won't have a personal opinion, but quite often as a project manager, it's more useful to keep that to yourself because when we state our opinion out loud, especially one that's going to turn someone off, what we're really doing is alienating someone who may have information we need in the future. Remember, when we make a statement like, you didn't do this right, and I can't believe you never do that, right? What does that get you? It makes you feel better for the moment, but it does not enhance your overall objective, which is just to complete this project on time, on cost, and on budget. So we want to use emotional quotient, emotional IQ, emotional intelligence. We want to use these soft skills, right? And so, what is emotional intelligence? Well, it's the ability to understand, manage, and apply information and harness the power of our own emotions. When I was in the Air Force, I remember I used to get upset because, oh, so and so didn't do what they were told, and it was clearly articulated to them what they should do. And somebody said, hey, when you're driving home and you get to a certain point in the city that you always pass, make that a moment to put it behind you. And I did that, and it worked. And I went home and put it all behind me. So that upsetness was limited to work. And I thought I had really matured. Well, it was really just starting, right? Because what I've learned later in life that actually most people that don't follow through or don't complete, most people don't do it because they don't like me or don't like the project or don't like the company. Most people want to work hard or work, and most people think they're doing a good job. Remember, we're human beings and we are distracted. Mom's sick. The kids went to the emergency room last night. Spouse, I think, is not happy. The list of the bills are right. This is life. And so before we get upset, we have to say, as project managers, what have we done to help remind them of the coming requirement or to guide them, to coach, to mentor, to model, right? To steer. There is a time when you do get upset, and that's when you know for a fact because you have it in writing or something that someone is out to get you. But let's be honest, that's such a corner use case. Most people are just human beings. And here's how powerful emotional quotient is. Notice this. Well, I love this line. Emotions are information, right? So control yours. Let people say what they want, but control yours and use that as information, right? You have to have good emotional intelligence or IQ, emotional quotient, EQ, in order to be competitive. Here's why this is such a great line, right? most people in life have a common intelligence. We're all, frankly, as smart as each other, right? So we'll say life is a bell-shaped curve, right? And here's the mean. And most people fall within one standard deviation. This would be all of us of the average intelligence, right? We're all pretty smart, right? But what really differentiates someone is not, and so this is a reference to IQ, intelligence, right? What really differentiates somebody is the EQ, because that's what people don't have well developed. EQ is 2 times as important as IQ. It's 2 times as important as technical experience or education when it comes to getting your project done and to getting promoted. Emotional intelligence will get you ahead well before IQ will. And that's what the research indicates. So I think that's a very interesting point to ponder. So I want you to ask yourself, wow, what are my emotional quotient strengths, right? Can you identify 3 strengths that you could continue to build on? And then ask yourself, wow, what are the benefits of those strengths as I bring them to the team? But then I'd like you to turn around and say, okay, what are 3 emotional quotient weaknesses that I have? And then who on the team can I leverage to compensate for that? And then better, what strategies, personal strategies can I use to build that emotional quotient muscle that's a little weaker than the others? Okay, so online on the Moodle site, I left an EQ EI journal link that you could consider. Start journaling. What EQ strengths you're going, or weaknesses and strengths you have, what weaknesses you're going to work on, how you're going to work on them, and how you're doing, right? It's a muscle. Work it. And then, so now we've talked management skills, leadership skills, interpersonal skills, and now technical skills. Again, just a short note, I like to break technical skills up into your industry, right? So if you're in construction or IT or cybersecurity or whatever skill area you're in, industry, those have a special set of skills. And you're not the expert of all, you're the project manager. Right? So your job is to integrate everything, but you've got to know the language a little bit. So one of the things I did when I became an cybersecurity project manager is I actually took the Security Plus course, it's called, so that I could learn and digest, learn, and use the language. Right? I wasn't the engineer putting everything together, but I knew what they were talking about at that point. And then, of course, there are project management technical skills as well. And those technical skills will include things in the PMBOK Guide, Edition 7, which we've provided a free copy online. So emotional skills here would be technical skills would include conflict management strategies. Strategies. I'm writing on the slide as we go. Might be earned value management is a technical skill, or sometimes we just abbreviate it EVM. That's in cost management. There is a tab on that Excel spreadsheet that has EVM on it. There's another technical skill in risk management, and it is called the decision tree, right? And the list goes on and on. So there are quite a few technical skills in the PMBOK Guide. Those are project management skills. Another famous one in Agile is called a burn down chart. I just list them here. This course really isn't about that, but just to show you that there are technical skills as project managers we need to know. And of course, you also need to be aware of your industry, because look at this. This is really a summary of what you're doing as a project manager, especially this center chart I love. But notice whether when you're a project manager and you initiate a project, you're going to develop the charter and identify stakeholders. Then in planning, your job is right here in yellow. Notice I have a legend on the right that kind of color codes. And integration is you, right? This is you. This is what the project manager does. So any of these yellow boxes are your focus. And notice in planning, you are bringing together and integrating all of these processes in project management. Now, this course isn't about these processes, right? I'm just trying to give you a sense. Look at all you're integrating. So when all of your, what is pink? That's schedule management. When the schedule manager gives you the schedule, you're like, great, reads well. I think it covers everything I want. But then the scope team comes and says, well, here's our scope for the project, as our business analysts have determined. And your job is to integrate. You're like, well, that scope doesn't quite match the schedule. I need to, how do we make these work out? And then once you've got those worked out, you're like, okay, here comes the budget person, and the finance person, which gives you your budget, says, yeah, but now that doesn't match the scope and schedule. So you've got to integrate those to make them balance. And that's just in planning. Then you'll go ahead and execute. And here's what the project manager does. You're collecting all of this information and integrating it. And then you're controlling the project. And you're using these processes to control it and bringing in to integrate all of this information, then finally closing. So there's a lot going on here. That's the only point to this slide. Your job is in yellow. It's to integrate constantly and balance as we learn. Now, when you look at that Excel spreadsheet that is included at the top of the Moodle page, it's also in week 1. These are project management tools for supervisors. You'll notice an issues log. What I want you this week to do is take that issues log, and I want you to think of a current project at work. That works. Think of a military project you worked on. That works. Don't care. I just want you to exercise this tool based on the concepts that we're learning this week. And then what I want you to do is fill in maybe 4 or 5 issues, but then I want you to add a couple of columns. I want you to reference the PMBOK guide, and I want you to also note one other column, which is it a leadership issue you've identified, a management issue, a technical issue, or an interpersonal issue like conflict management, motivation, etc. That's just tying it to this week's 4 core pillars. This right here on the slide is really what an issues log has, right? And through an issues log, we're going to identify risks. We're going to engage stakeholders. We're going to monitor, that's M&C, monitor and control the project work, right? This issues log is helping us do this. As I've mentioned, we often have kept our own issues log, our personal issues log. When we go to meetings, we make a note on takeaways or things we need to do. And sometimes, this is what I do, put an open box next to it. And I know that task is done when I've checked the box. That was a personal issues log. Now we're doing a more formal issues log because there are so many more areas, not just personal issues, but so many more areas to integrate, and we're working with the project team. That's why we use a formal tool called the issues log. Now, tied to an issues log, decisions are going to be made, and as project managers, we want to record those. So there is also a tab called a decision log, right? And believe me, if a decision is made, especially if you don't agree with it, but if it's a big one, if it impacts scope or schedule or budget, write it down. Even add in the description a reference to where that decision is stored at. It's an email dated 31 March, 7:02 a.m., right? So you can find it. that sort of thing. So a decision log, very important for a project manager. But here's a copy of the Excel log that this was an issues log, right? Here is the issue log in the Excel spreadsheet that I have shared with you.